you are not on TikTok and don't know what is happening on TikTok, I feel like TikTok has become the new Facebook. Ugh, it's annoying as hell. But in case you're not on TikTok and you do not know what is happening on the TikTok app, on the Clock app, huge celebrities are coming up right, left, and center. And one among those many celebrities who popped off was Millie Wadok. She was called Millie Wadok because her husband was a doctor, right? So it's like Millie Wadok, guys, cutie. It's very, very cute. It's giving everything it needs to give. However, I feel like maybe at some point a name change would have been due, but let's get into the conversation. Unfortunately, on the 2nd of this month, this is like a day ago, right? Because today's the 4th. Today's the 4th. So 2 days ago, yes, she unfortunately passed on. Like she literally died, right? The end of her life came to be. Simply put, she had had some complications with her kidney, and she was going through like a sort of kidney failure. And when she was rushed to hospital, the doctors had said that they're going to put her on medication, but in case the medication doesn't work out, the next day they would put her on dialysis to be able to try and clean up her kidney. Because we know, as well, if you do not know, the kidney is a very fundamental part of your body, and if your kidney is failing, it is the one thing. The kidney and the liver are the two organs in your body that clean up your whole system, right? So if your kidney shuts down, it means that your body is not processing toxins. All of the things that are supposed to be gotten rid of, they're not getting rid of by your body because your kidney is shutting down. So apparently she got into sepsis, or septic shock, which led to her passing. Do we call it septic shock or acute failure, acute kidney failure, which is basically her body getting septic, and she then unfortunately died on the night after she was admitted to hospital. But a few things are popping up about her husband, because a bit earlier on she'd had a conversation about her and her partner, or her and the doc, where she said, "I know I am in danger, but I have planned for my children. If I die, they will be okay, but I hope my story helps someone else. Many women are afraid of speaking up. Some only do this through anonymous accounts." So you're like, what is going on? What do you mean you're in danger? Like, what's the story? Goes on to actually admit that the doc has been very violent with her. Like, he's been abusive to her, to a point where she actually said has abused. A daddy is abusive and has a bit of weird misconduct when it comes to her specifically, and unfortunately, even worse. I have to read this because it's crazy. Apparently, she says the last straw came when she said that her children's behavior had significantly started changing during their relationship, only to find out that him, the doctor, had tried to pursue one of her daughters, right? Had tried to have
Her daughter.
yes, her daughter had tried to have a bit of a sexual advance towards her daughter. Not a bit of, let me say it as it is. Had tried to advance sexually towards her daughter, which is very problematic. And she said it became so weird that like the kids would hear daddy is coming home and they would just run and hide in their rooms. And I don't think that's any conducive environment for anyone to be in, and especially to put your children, because simply because you found out this time doesn't mean that next time you'll find out. So she then left the relationship, but apparently he's had a few other issues even with the law, where there's an allegation of medical malpractice, which had led him to have criminal charges. And she said that she'd found incriminating evidence on his phone. So all of these things, if you add them up together, you understand why she would say that she is in danger, right? But she did split up from this guy. And unfortunately, the health was the issue that surfaced, or that led to her demise, which is so sad. I am glad that her children are in good hands. Like, that's the one thing we panic about. You're like, whoa, did she take care of it? Like, what's the plan for the kids and whatever? But she had made all these plans beforehand, and I'm so glad that these children are not going to be left in the hands of this man who would obviously end up abusing them, which is super sad. Yeah, what a tragic story. Like, I hate it that every day we speak about someone, especially a woman on the internet, it's because of some ninja shit, that ninja-ish that she's going through. Like, it is so problematic how a lot of the men that are popping up in these stories are problematic. Like, really, children, and then you're still beating up your wife. Like, what, you know? May she rest in peace.
I first came across Millie and Doc on TikTok, where she would go out of her way to make his life convenient. She would cook him food and take it to him for lunch. She would call him daddy and, papasa him, take care of him. And the whole time, anytime you'd watch those videos at Kitambo, there was always something that was not right. There was something that would jump out in the screen, and it would be confirmed in the comment section, because guys would be like, this guy doesn't seem like a good person, honestly. But she would really go out of her way to call him daddy and do all of these things. Eventually somebody came up with a story about how he had been previously married, and even the circumstances of his previous marriage were very sus, and it was a whole lot of issues. But I think the thing that stood out for me, or a new fear that Millie gave us, was when earlier this year she made the video. She said her life was in danger, where she said that she went through his phone and she found out that him, as a doctor, would be taking pictures of patients while they were under anesthesia, and while they were out cold, or when you're coming from post-op, when you're groggy and you don't know what you're saying, you're under the influence of pain meds, and he would coerce the mostly female patients into saying very lewd things, like things he wanted to say. How he would take pictures of unconscious patients, and that was the content of his phone, and it was something funny to him, to the point where people who would come in for removal of the
Cysts.
not cysts, removal of their family planning, maybe implants or whatever, he would just not do it. And then he would come home and tell her, oh, there's this woman who came in and I just didn't do it. Or another time, like she tells us, and he said that there was a Muslim woman who came in for an IUD, for an implant, and he just didn't do it. But she goes away thinking it's been done. So to hear that somebody in a position of such power would do such a thing, that gave me a new fear. And she kept saying, guys, if your family member or your relative is having surgery, please make sure you're with them every step of the way. And you're just thinking, the most vulnerable places, the most vulnerable stage you're in, there's a doctor out there who's waiting to do something to you. That's been scary. That's the thing that stood out for me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sad that she passed away, and may she rest in peace, and love and light to her family, to her children. But the things she uncovered about Doc, if he's still practicing medicine, that's a problem.
Yeah.